Okay.
Here we go. Woo!
Should I have or not have the
Hello, everybody. How you doing? Hey, so we are doing a special event live stream today. This is Thursday. Because we have Unify 1.1 is out. It's available. It's a free download if you own Unify. We asked $79 for our plugin, and we promise never to put it on sale. It's one of these things where we have it at a price that we think is a really fair price, and we don't think it needs to change from that price. So welcome. I am so glad that we've gotten some really great feedback from everybody. I'm really excited that today we are joined by my partner in this project, and that's Shane. Shane Dunn is here. Hi, Shane.
Hi there.
So we're just going to talk a little bit about the update to start with, and then in a little bit we'll show some of the features and all that kind of stuff that's going on. And so how are you doing? How do you feel?
Better now. It was a bit of a frenzied effort to get things working.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were hoping to release on Monday. And then we came across a couple things, and we decided we wanted to make sure that we fixed those before we let it out, you know?
Yeah, well, the biggest thing that changed was that you realized that we were so close now to being able to make changes live.
Yes.
And in ways that would work live. And so you said to me, is there any way we can remove that little audio dropout?
Yes.
When you open a new plugin, whatever, that there'd be a gap in the audio. And so I started looking into that.
Yeah.
And that was very subtle.
Yeah.
In order basically to be able to change things behind the scenes while playing. Yeah. I had to devise some new techniques, and that happened all very much close to the last minute. And as a result,
yes,
a few things slipped by us.
Yes. But, just a few things here and there.
I mean, because it's too bad, and it's really too bad because we'd had a lot of testing beforehand. Yeah. And this issue came up towards the end, and I didn't want to keep people waiting. Like, I didn't want to say, oh, let's wait another week while we beat it up. It's like, we have it. It seems to be working. So yeah. But of course, I broke a couple other things in the process. But I fixed them. I
know. Not only that. We are currently at version 1.1.3.
Correct. So if you got 1.1.2,
you should update.
Get 1.1.3.
Yeah. There was a couple small little things that weren't working quite right. And then we received news that a couple of people have been trying to get the Reason rack to work with as a MIDI effect. And it was not. And Master Shane was able to get in there. And I don't know what you do. It's just crazy to think that you can go in, type a few things, and all of a sudden something works that can't work before. It's, If
only it were always that way. And I could just make any problem go away.
I know, right?
Yeah, it can be quite a challenge.
Yeah, yeah. So with this update, we've introduced, I think, some really exciting, a whole bunch of new things. What is the thing that intrigued you, was the most fun to work on, the most fun that you think people will get a big kick out of with 1.1?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the introduction of MIDI box and jitter box. Yeah. Because, you and I were talking about this last night, and I said, the reason why I was so fixated on this is because so much of what you do as a sound designer and a library creator and so on, all has to do with BPM type of patches. Yeah. And our support for BPM was, not that great. Yeah. So I really wanted to get the MIDI playback in there, and then this jitterbox sort of came along. It was something that ideas between the two of us kind of came together, and
then took off.
Work together.
Yeah.
Oh, and the other thing that's exciting for me as a nerd, as a programming nerd, is Unify in Unify.
That's huge.
That was we sort of tested it before using actually loading the Unify VST.
Mm-hmm.
Just like any other VST plugin, and realized, yeah, it sort of could work, but I thought, well, that's not a very efficient way to do it, and you have to.
We started getting errors from people because they
Yeah,
would only scan for audio units, and so then it wouldn't work because it needs.
Exactly. So I knew it could be more efficient. So, but that was a bit of a fight to get that working. But I think it's working very well now, and I mean, we're even to the point where you've been creating patches that have Unify in Unify, and some of the embedded Unifys also have their own embedded Unify.
Exactly, it's crazy.
It's really amazing that it's that it's working well, and so it seems to be holding together. And
the thing that's really cool is that you can load up an entire Unify that has multiple layers doing like polyphonic MIDI box, and then put a MIDI file on that Unify, controlling the MIDI box and the Unify that are inside of the. I mean, it's possible to be a pretty amazing Rubik's Cube if you wanted to. So it's really exciting that we don't have caps where like, oh, sorry, the software can't do this. We're not letting you do that or not doing that. I mean, it's fun to be in charge of the parameters and go. So one example, the reverbs. There's 4 new reverbs inside of Unify, the Dragonfly series, and the low cut wasn't very strong. It was only up to like 150 hertz or something.
You went to 200 hertz.
200 hertz.
You said, can we do
3,000? So we beefed that up to where it's actually able to like remove the big body of something if you want. And then the pre-delay, I'm like, this pre-delay of 50 milliseconds or 100 milliseconds, I think it was, right?
I think it was 100 milliseconds. And we pushed it to 500.
It's now 500 milliseconds. So being someone that programs, and it's all the time I come across a synth and you go, oh, I wish I had this, and being able to say, hey, Shane, doc. We Skype literally probably like at least about an hour a day.
At least once a day, yeah.
At least once a day talking this through. So it's really cool. We enjoy working together. I think it's really a wonderful synergy we have to. He comes up with something that I start as a spark of an idea, and then he finds the way to realize it so it looks like something on the screen, and then we look at it and then we start playing with it and come up with other ideas of like, okay, so now we got jitterbox delaying. Is there a way you could do it to clock? And then all of a sudden he pops up with these scale things so you can say clock and you can randomize in that, which I had no idea we would be able to do that. So we bounce off each other and you guys get the benefit of it. It's awesome. It's really fun to work with you, my friend.
Well, thank you. It's jolly fun to work with you too.
Usually, right?
We have our moments. We have our moments.
Yes. We've had a couple like, okay, I'm having a glass of wine and going to bed.
As you know, if I'm feeling upset, I don't hold back.
But that's
because you listen and you just deal with it, and
no, it's been a wonderful thing. Well, thank you so much for just being. I mean, it's a dream come true for me because I have lots of ideas of things, and we've talked about all sorts of things, and to have someone that can take those ideas and turn them into something that can be a real benefit to people has been really fun, wonderful. Can Jitterbox randomize velocity per note? Yes, that's what it does.
Does it randomize velocity?
Oh no, it doesn't do velocity yet. No.
Oh, I think I was just looking at that coming up on the chat. Thinking, there's a good idea.
Yeah, velocity would be a fun thing to do too.
See, normally I would be typing away furiously.
Right.
I'm not going to do that. So
we're here where we're just like...
I'm still looking at it, and so I can, however, respond with my voice, and I can say, that's a great idea. We should do that. We should add that.
Yeah. Hey, Shane and I need to do a mad shout out to Tim Dale. He just popped up into the chat. Tim, dude, thank you so much. He's one of our testers. He's got the Sabersphere libraries for Omnisphere. He has a library that's going to be coming out for Unify that's really incredible. He got to us with a couple things that we missed in our testing and other beta tester testing that we've fixed in the last 20 hours to Unify to 1.1.3. So thank you, Tim.
Yeah, the other person I want to shout out to, I want to shout out to all the beta testers, but the
Yes.
other person I would like to call out specifically is Frank Saraceno.
Frank.
Who has helped us identify some really important issue.
Yes.
The process of getting on the Mac for Catalina or Mojave.
Yeah.
Be able to control the Steinberg E licenser, working with the Steinberg E licenser.
Yeah.
The Mac OS has new security features that were introduced in Mojave and are strengthened even in Catalina, and it makes it damn near impossible. You have to get so many things right.
Mm-hmm.
And every time I have to prepare a release, there's a few steps that I have to do manually.
Yeah.
I forgot one. It's the silliest little thing. And basically it's thanks to Frank that I was able to track that down and remember what it was that I forgot.
Yeah.
And so that's up and working again now.
Yeah. And thank you to our other beta testers too. I want to definitely say you guys.
Yeah, I'm not saying the others are no good, but
no, we have a little forum people replied to that has been very helpful to help us, be the eyes and ears at the back of our head sometimes for things that we've done. So really awesome stuff. Well, cool. Are you ready? I'm gonna dive into how do I update my version to Unify 1.1. All you have to do is just download Unify 1.1.3, and you just run the, you unzip it because both that and the Unify factory content are both zipped, and you just run the installer. There's a single installer for the Mac, there's a single installer for the PC, and then after you get done with installing it, you run it and then drag the Unify factory content over the interface of Unify, and it will say, do you want to install? And you say yes. And it will go through a process, and I will show you in a second all the stuff it installs because it's pretty insane.
I think, by the way, I'm probably going to need to go and help my wife with something for a few minutes. So
yes.
If you don't need me anymore, I just really wanted to show up eventually. We tried to do this before. I at least wanted to show up so that you know that I'm not actually an AI bot.
Yes.
I'm actually a human being. And yes, I have been working on this every hour of every day.
Yeah. It's like over 3 months straight, so yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's sci-fi, Robert says. Absolutely. We're the future, baby.
You bet.
All right, my friend. Well, take care. And we'll see you soon.
Talk to you soon then.
All right.
I'll still be here in the live stream.
Yes, when you get back from making sure everything's good upstairs.
Okay, very good.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye. All right. Well, there you go. So we are really thrilled to bring this to you. This is Unify 1.1. Let me make sure it looks good on the screen. We can get this a little bit larger. A couple things to point out that are some of the new things in the update that are pretty cool. We have graphics so that each library, each patch that I call up, if I say vocal, I can't spell at all, can I? And I say something like this, it changes to a graphic that I wanted to have included. This is using MIDI box in a cool way. Here, if I turn MIDI box off, I have my mod wheel over here, right? But I have MIDI box set up really special where it is sending notes through a MIDI effect, which is a special feature only we can do with the plugins we've made. And we're letting pitch bend and MIDI CCs continue through. And then in this MIDI file is just nothing but MIDI CC1 data doing curve moves, just doing a rhythmic thingy that I made in Logic. And then turn it on. And if I want, I can go to the speed. I could speed it up to incredible fast speeds. Or slow it down. I could put it to 16 times 1 and now speed it up and it becomes almost like LFO. It's playing the MIDI file so fast it's an LFO. find this place where it's really cool. You know, so there's all sorts of places to go. Check this out. If I go 1-1 and double click to 100%, it's immediately locked to clock. It's not lost and trying to find its way. It always knows where the clock is. It's one of the coolest things. You can spin this to where it's freaked out. Double click this so it goes to 100%. It's locked immediately. Super, super, super cool. We have audition buttons in MIDI box so that if you're in a folder like this, which has a whole lot of other presets, you can hit the little plus and minus buttons like a CD player or something. This one's pitchy G, which you won't hear, but I'll show you in a minute. You can do pitchy G as a MIDI effect too, which is really cool. So while this is doing this, let me show you seamless loading. Let's say I want to have a piano added. So I can say key. Now get me to all the pianos that are here. I can hold down, or let's do it this is the way you do it at first until you become a pro. Right click, and here are the options. Either add the layers, which means that no longer all the mod assignments are lost, and they all take on the mod assignments that were done for the vocal filter dance, right? But the coolest thing is loading into a new Unify layer, and listen. No noise, and I could go kick. Let's say I want to add a kick drum to this. I want to add a 4 on the floor. I'm going to use another option. I'm going to right click and I'm going to say Unify no pitch shift, because I normally have all the rhythm stuff shifting across the keyboard, because you can do cool stuff that way. I'll show you that in a minute. But by doing this, let's say I want a clap to come in, so I could type clap. And I'm gonna hold down, now check this out. There's modifier keys. If I hold down Control, Shift, and click, that will load it. If I hold Shift and click, that's to load just a Unify layer. So I'm gonna hold down Control, Shift, I'm gonna say finger snaps, and a clap. Then I want a cool groove. I have all these recycle files, so I type RX2. Let's say I want redhead, and I want, let's do the breakdown first. In a minute, I'll add the big one. Recycle file. I made this recycle file like 20 years ago. And while it's doing solo, I'm gonna add the big groove. 1, 2, 3, 4. So you can build up. Let's say I want to add a bass. Let's go BPM bass, and I want to choose from all the libraries. BPM bass. Oh wait, pass. And let's go over here. Actually, I'm going to go to Cloud City. And I'm going to say high tech octave. So I hold down Shift, click. I'm going to turn everybody down a little bit. By holding down Option, I can turn down all the volumes together. Or I can bring them all up. Let's go to the kick drum. So you can control the mix as well as loading everything. Now, in order for the bass part to work, I'd want to go down here, right click and say B, and now I have bass. And then as quickly as I loaded everything, I could go up to the patches and I can hold down Option, remove them. One, two, by piano. No clicks. So it's a whole new world. All of the patches that you have in Unify, no matter what plugin you use, I have found there's a little glitch when Pigments is loaded, but everything else is able to be done seamless that I've come across. So you could say init, we could go to, well here, check this out. So I'm gonna say pad, and let's do with a rhythmic thing. Here's a cool little rhythmic. Now in the user library, clear by hitting the X, here is OBXA from Arturia. So I'm gonna hold down Shift, click, no click. Now Arturias are CPU heavy in some cases. As you can see, my CPU usage is pretty heavy. So I have to watch the number of notes of Polyphony I play. I can open this up. No click. Open up OBXA. No click. Let's bring down our polyphony. Let's say 6 voices. So we made it so you can work with Unify and not have hiccups and glitches. It's called Seamless Play. And it's really, really fun because it opens up all sorts of possibilities to use Unify as it's great big playlist. You don't have to like stop and like load something when it's silent and, you know, wait for things to happen. You can interact and play, and there's so much we can do now with rhythm. It's really exciting. So that's one of my favorite features inside of Unify, on top of everything else. So hey Jazz dude, no clicks, no crashes now. Ideal for live DJs, all that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool. So we have MIDI file playback in Unify, but we have many applications because, as you can see from MIDI box, here, let me zoom in on this so you can see all the, let's see if I go, which one is it? Is it this one here? There. This has all sorts of juicy parameters to play with. It's not just playing back MIDI files. It can do much more than that. For one thing, there's 2 basic uses for MIDI files. This is the way called just MIDI note transpose, right? So this is a MIDI file. I'm going to play one note. Notice that this is similar to a MIDI file that's the first patch in another plugin that's really cool. It's more advanced musically, and you'll hear MIDI CC data bringing up all sorts of things that's recorded into the MIDI file. So it's not just the notes, it's actual MIDI CC. Pitch bend data can be in your MIDI file. It's brighter. Back down. Back down. How big? Hear that? So that's all in the MIDI file. And I can play it on the keyboard. It's super fast. So you can play MIDI files as an instrument. And look at my CPU meters. I'm playing a 3-layer huge patch thing that's playing big 6-note chords. So it's, and I'm playing as fast as I can. And it's I'm working the computer a little bit for sure, but I'm also having to share processing with doing a live stream on YouTube. So there's a lot going on. Right? Okay, that's chapter 1. This is before Unify, right? You're zoomed in. Oh, CPU meter's not showing. Thank you. So let's zoom back out. So here, now you can see the CPU meters. I'm playing 4 octaves simultaneously as fast as I can. Right? Well, now chapter 2, MIDI files have evolved. This is because of Polybox and Jitterbox. Notice how this one, listen how the timing is perfect. Everything's like... Well, with Jitterbox and with Polybox, I'm able to take that MIDI file and flip it, and now I can play chords. Play whatever I want, and it's playing a MIDI file to play it. If I play one note, see, it's triggering just this Unify right here on this layer. Each one of these layers is on its own MIDI channel, and Polybox is distributing each note to a separate MIDI channel. That's how we get polyphonic MIDI files. So that is, nobody else has done this before. As far as I know, I can't think of anywhere where I've seen where you can play MIDI files polyphonically. And you can make your own MIDI file. Let's do that. Let's go over here and put Unify away for a second. And we'll call this up. Let's see, let's mute that. We're going to go to a new instrument. I don't even have to use Unify. I could. Let's use a new Unify. So I'm just playing a sound. Let's do this. We'll go to the chapter 1, and we're going to turn off the MIDI file so that it's just a sound that I can play. Okay, and now for the MIDI file, here's the thing. Let's do a complex one so you see what that sounds like. Let's say we want that as our MIDI file, okay? So let's quantize it. I can go over here and say techno line. Techno line. Copy. I hit a couple keys, export it as a MIDI file. And here it is on my desktop. Where's my desktop? Why didn't it show up on my desktop? Desktop. Oh. It went into the desktop of the desktop. Desktop here. Sorry, here it is. Technoline. I have a folder with 3,300 items. It's called desktop that I put everything after a certain amount of projects. So I've got this MIDI file. So let's go back to the other Unify that's playing MIDI files, right? And I'm going to show you how you can replace this MIDI file. Call up this patch, and this is all you have to do. Bypass Polybox so that it's muted. So now it's only playing on one line, one layer. Okay? Then you hold down Option and you click Init. And the special command of this, normally when you hit Init, it resets everything to a blank slate with the sine wave synth on the layer. This does the same thing, except it keeps this layer and it keeps MIDI effects, and it doesn't change any of the settings of the layer number 1. Everything else goes away. So you hold down Option and click. And now I have just MIDI box on its layer. So open up MIDI box, click with the blue text. That's how you load. Go to the desktop, and right here, Techno Line, double click, and there. It's in. Now I can control velocity. All of these controls can be assigned to knobs for real-time control. What happens if I make this polyphonic? So if I hold, we want to turn back on Polybox because we want it to start splitting out. Polybox is set to 8 pool, which means 8 voices. It's got a pool to random of 8. So you go to the little bullet right here and you say make 7 of this layer, next MIDI channel for each layer that you make. And just like that, it makes, boom, 8 of this Unify that are all connected. So I can... It's very cool, but you got to use it in very specific ways. You know how in a lot of dance songs you start with like 1 layer of it, then you go to 2 layers, 3. You can do that easily with Unify with MIDI files doing this kind of stuff. Now, if I want this to be more useful for me personally, I'd want to be able to play my own chords and change chords and not worry that's going to go weird. So there happens to be a really cool thing in Logic where you go Command 7, and I can select all the notes, starting with this one, and I hold Shift and V, and it turns every note into C. So now it's ready to be techno monoline, right? Select all, copy, export to MIDI. This time go to my real desktop, thank you. And there it is. I have now made a MIDI file. Oh, I didn't paste the name in, so let's go like this and paste the name. Now, if I go back to this first, now the cool thing with this MIDI file compared to an arpeggiator, check out the feel. There's dynamics, differences of duration, how it goes down and then up in velocity at the end. Those are things that would take a bit of work to get happening if you're working with, say, some sort of an arpeggiator. Whereas here, it's you play what you want, you play the duration you want. Hold down Option, click Init, go over to MIDI box, go to Techno line and choose Techno Monoline. Close, go over here and say make 7 copies. And just like that, I've made it back to being polyphonic. Cool, huh? Isn't that cool? Now, I'm gonna go over here. Let's see. No, that would take a lot of work. If I wanted to put velocity to each one of those, it would take a bit of work. You'd hold down Option, go to here to go to each layer, MIDI effect, MIDI box, velocity offset. Let's use velocity offset. Let's do this for a couple, say plus layer number 2, MIDI effect, MIDI box, velocity offset. We'll do it to 4. I'll show you a cool trick. Go layer 3, MIDI effect. One cool thing also, well, I got to show it to you in another way because there's too much of a possibility I won't get the right layer. But if I took the time, you set this up once and then you can save it and it's done forever. So it's a little bit of work, but it's not that bad. I'm going to open up Polybox and say reset. So that means that it will always restart now at 1. So I can play a 4-note chord. Didn't I? Oh, you know what? I need to set these all to be to the minimum. They were going higher, but not going lower. So I'm just going to select each one and say, go the full range, right? We got to talk about the targets because that's a place that we spent a decent amount of time fixing. So now I can play a chord again. Yeah. Now I have control over the velocity of a MIDI file in real time. And I could open up a couple of these and let's put a couple to like some fun times. Like let's have it divide by 3/5 for one layer. And the fourth layer, let's have it divide by just like 2 times, so it plays twice as fast. Open up Polybox, hit reset, and now oh, 1, 2, 3. There, now it's in there. So now it's a MIDI file where different layers are at different times. That's part of the fun of this, is I could go to each one of these Unify and make these a different plugin. I could go here and say I want this to be whatever synth I want to use. I could say Zebra. So I could have 2 of these layers be Zebra playing patches. Let's say we go presets. There's a really cool one here called Pocket Love. And the 4th one, I'm going to have this be Serum. Let's play something from Emoji. So we go up here and we say go to Emoji, some sort of cool pluck. And let's see, like mechanized harp. That'll be interesting. So now let's go up here and say reset. And now when I play the chord, so here and here is Zebra. And then right here and here are Unify. They're listening to velocity. I could go over here and I could say, I don't need these other guys. Let's change our pool to 4. And then I'm going to go over here to kick. Add a kick drum. So you can do fun stuff. So the ability of a MIDI file to be polyphonic, to be at different timings, to do all sorts of things is just, it's a whole new world with all this kind of stuff we can do. So that's really fun. Let me show you another one that's fun. This is, let's go to piano. This is Broken Chords Piano. I want to show you Jitterbox because this is insane. It's really crazy. So everybody's having a good time. Yeah, multiple chords, lots of polyphony, all that stuff. So here is a piano part. Let's low it down. This needs to be this. Here's without Jitterbox. Hear it for a minute. That's without Jitterbox. Perfect. So let's open up Jitterbox. Let's make it nothing to start with, but then check this out. Each note is going to give a random amount of time. So you can take MIDI files or arpeggiator patterns that are perfect timing and give it just a little bit, like 30, 40 milliseconds. Now check this out. This is where it gets really fun. So I'm going to take one of these piano parts. Let's have them both play just for fun, because the second one is a bright harmonic component. That's the brighter and the warmer one. So we're going to go to the brighter one, and let's do this. We can go over here and say duplicate this layer, and then have this MIDI box talk to that MIDI box so it stays. But the MIDI box on part 1, we're going to open up and do something very different. Instead of buying milliseconds, let's go up here and say eighth notes. And let's take it up an octave. So you hear it louder, right? Now, what's really fun is Jitterbox can be randomized even when it's synced to clock. So if I bring this to here and to here, every time note goes through, it now can be randomized between no time and plus of an eighth note. So and if you're doing Radiohead and stuff, that can be really cool. Filter it, put cool effects on it, and you've got a cool effect. If you want to make it a little bit more mainstream, we have the ability to quantize the random value that it's delaying to only be simple note times. And then we can say, we only want you to go down to a certain note time. Don't go down to 32nd notes or 64th notes. And now we have... Isn't that cool? Now, if you want, you can go over here to pitch jitter and turn this on, and all of a sudden, it's all over the place. And then you can choose percentage, say 0, and now it's back to being straight. Let's set it to like 10% or 14. So you can randomize the timing and randomize the notes and tell the notes only to be every infrequent. So I'll show you the reason. That's one way to use it. The main reason I asked for that was for this. Let's go shaker. Just so happens that I have recorded actually a ton of percussion for Cloud City, which I'll show you some of in a little bit. And there's 2 shakers. There's so many shakers in Cloud City, I decided to put 2 of the shakers inside of the standard library. So you have shakers to play with. You can kind of see the concept for these, so you'll get excited for Cloud City, where there's even more shakers and Native American rattlers and all sorts of really cool percussion instruments. But the map design is like this, where the red shaker has that many. The lemon shaker has actually more samples, including shakes and rattles and stuff. And so if you open up the MIDI file and play it, and let's have it go along with the recycle file so you hear some rhythm. RX2. Let's say we want to do with, this is nice. A little faster. And I'm going to go into this really quick because I think I loaded it with it transposing. See how they transpose pitch? Well, we'll talk about that in a minute. There's so much to cover, it's crazy. But check this out for the shaker. If you put Jitterbox on here, the idea is this. You can say, I only want it to trigger whatever notes it gets in, but I only want it to do randomizing between the ranges of C1. And here, let me turn off the shaker for a second because I want to see how far up the keyboard. Oh, wait, what did I do? Like to D2, okay? So let's turn this back on and this back on and say only to D2. D2. And that way, no timing delay to start with. And just like part of the time, well, let's start with 0% of the time. I wanted to be able to take shaker patterns and stuff and give them more human by using the other samples, right? Now it's changing between all those different samples randomly, 40% of the time. And it just makes it sound more musical to me. Right? So that's where part of what I wanted with jitterbox and random timing, but then it's also this thing where you can use it on pianos. You can do, like if you say drunken piano, there happens to be a really cool piano where I have jitterbox turned on, and if I play straight timings, call up drunken piano and try to play it straight. And if you want to get avant-garde, just open this up and turn on pitch, and it's random wherever you play 70% of the time. And if you want, you can turn this down to a little bit, like 13%. I'm playing a C chord. But I'm getting free notes every now and then. So being able to give yourself a range and say, no, I only want it to be like in the middle of the keyboard so that it doesn't like play super high on low notes is kind of cool. So those types of things are really fun. Now, the other way to use MIDI box is, as you can see, there's, well, the jitterbox is here. Let me call up a drum kit. I have drum kits now over here as BPM drum and just as drum kit. We're going to call one up as a BPM drum kit. This is Super Pop. Okay. Are you guys following along? Bye, everyone. Okay, so check this out. First of all, jitterbox is here, but no random timing is happening, but you can add a little bit, and now it's got the quantize at 80% in your sequencer instead of at 25% or at 100%, right? So that's pretty cool. Now, what this is doing, this is a drum kit, right? So if I turn off MIDI box and jitterbox and play the keys, you have all these sounds up and down the keyboard. By turning this on, MIDI box is playing a drum groove that plays just the notes that make this drum kit sound good. And if I was to go in and use the normal note transpose instead of our secret button right here, when I play different notes, it transposes the notes. Only the C in the middle really is the right, that's the notes that you want. But when we first got this working and Shane first sent it to me, it's like, here we got MIDI files, and anywhere you played on the keyboard, it was the same pitch. And I was like, we need to do more than that. So we have a really cool connection between our Guru sampler and MIDI box, where when you turn on this button, note to course, it has a secret back channel to the note course over here, only in Guru sampler. This only works for Guru sampler, where if I play C, hit C, and as I go up the keyboard, it transposes the samples up in pitch. You can do all sorts of cool, fun things for groove variations, you know. So that is different, and that's why when you load up something that you, as you're down here with this, and you right-click to say seamless loading, this Unify with no pitch shift turns off that feature in MIDI box. Because otherwise, if you have a pad, we have a nice pad ping, right? Let's say we want to have just vocal pad. Let's say we want to load a recycle file, RX2. No, let's say drum kit so that it plays the drum kit thing that we were showing, right? Drum kit. And let's say we want to, so I'm going to right click on this. And I'm going to say just load it the normal way. And now when I have it in, wherever I play, it's transposing my drum groove. I don't want that. So option, click right here to delete. This time call it up, but right click and say no pitch shift. And now wherever you play, it doesn't transpose. So you can build a whole groove thing that's based on that doesn't transpose while all the synth parts are transposing. So I could go shaker, and I could say I want to add this shaker. I hold down Control and Shift, and I click shaker. And it's a little loud, so I'm going to turn it down to start with. And so that's why we have the different modes of loading Unify. The first one, it's going to load. Let's go back to the shaker. And if I just hold down Shift and hit load the shaker, turn it down so it's really loud, and now then you might want that effect because it's a cool effect, but it's cool to have the option to go either way depending on how you want to use it. So a lot of these things were things that we thought of and decided to do as we were working with Unify and these abilities. And it's like, oh, this is cool, but I don't know how useful it is when the drums are going all over the place in pitch. So we made it so that whatever you load with this Unify seamless play option, it can now be done without transposing if you want. Let's go back to the drums. I want to show you some more tricks. Drums. Let's say we go the Airwave kit this time. So other cool things we have for kits. Let's go to the knobs because we have set up real-time controls. You'll notice there's one here called pattern. Right? This allows you to cycle inside of MIDI box between 10 different drum grooves. If I spin right here, let's see if I have this right. Gotta make it smaller, I guess. That's one of the things we're going to be working on next is interface, just to make it more cohesive. We're doing things we weren't expecting we were going to be able to do. And so the way Unify has grown has kind of like, it's a little, needs a haircut like me. So we'll be cleaning up interface things, probably is one of our priorities. But watch this, when I spin the pattern, right here it changes. Okay, super cool. Because I took this concept kind of way out there. Let me show you this right here. And I talk about this in the video that I just posted, but I'll show you and do the really quick. Check this out. So this is a picture of the map that I made inside of Logic. These are 10 up and down columns of 10 different drum grooves. I set them up between the 4 kits that come inside of the Unify standard library. There's Super Pop, Vintage, Beast, and the Airwave kit. And each of these grooves I needed to, if you look, especially at this one, the notes needed to be changed depending on what kit was playing, right? So I set these up, and Logic has a really cool system set up, and a lot of sequencers do, some do not. I know for sure, I believe Ableton Live does not do this, where you take MIDI files, and if you make like 10 tracks that are all MIDI channel 1, and you put different grooves on each of those tracks and select them all and export as a MIDI file, what Logic does is it turns it into a type 1 instead of a type 0 MIDI file. Ableton only spits out a type 0 MIDI file, which merges all of those 10 tracks into one big messy track. But with Logic, it's able to spit out a type 1. What that does, we are able in MIDI box to read a type 1 MIDI file, and that gives you the ability to create what I call stacks of patterns. And we support up to 255 patterns that you could actually, we only have 127 steps, I believe, in our modulation sources. So every single step would be a MIDI pattern drum groove if you wanted to set it up that way. But I just did it for 10. So as you're playing, Okay? So, if you take this and you look down the list, you'll find a patch called Drummer Frenzy. This is the insane patch that's loading and using all 40 of those MIDI files at once. Let me make sure I got my screen set so you can see everything. Go up here, gets to here, right? So check this out. This is nuts. So here's all 4 drum kits, and when you first play it, it's playing all 4 kits together. You see them all lit up. Well, we have the ability to do really crazy advanced modulation settings for our targets. It's not just a source and a destination and a strength to get between the two. You can make breakpoint, multi-breakpoints. So here I have, when they hit right here at 0, and we have a little knob here, a little slider, so I can slide and it moves that knob. So I don't have to close and go down to that. I can actually move this, and you'll see the things change on the screen. See how they each go? So here's all 4. There's Beast. There's the Airwave kit. Super Pop. And then Vintage. And the cool thing about this, one thing that we did with parameter links that I love, and again, this is something I don't think anybody else does, is when you have clicked a bullet and move it, you hear the results in real time of what that intensity will be, whatever that value is going to be. If it's a filter cutoff, you're hearing the brightness. If it's reverb amount, you're hearing the mix of the reverb. Here I'm on volume. So I can hear in real time what that value will be at when my knob gets to that parameter. So when I get to the, oh, it's a little too loud. So I'd go to these sets, bring it down a little bit. I hear the results in real time. Super, super father frickin' cool. It's one of those things you can load Serum, you can load Omnisphere, anything, modulate parameters of that synth with these, and you hear the results of that synth. Not just our plugins. This is, you know, this is all about Unify. This is things you can do to every plugin. So you can do that, okay? So I can do a pattern now between 4 kits. Have them all play. Speed. No, it's not a drug. Kind of. Well, so we have set up, and again, because we have Unify on different layers, each one of these Unify have its own set of macros set up. And so some of them don't have speed set up. Other ones you look at for like Control 6 speed, and you see it's set to inside of our, check this out, MIDI effects, MIDI box. You have access to all of the parameters in MIDI box for the sliders, and jitter box, access to all the sliders. So I have different layers of the different drum kits set to different numerators. So as I play with the speed knob, some are going to not change at all, and others will change rather radically. It's sample accurate. It's also right on clock the second you go back to 0%. Okay, so watch this. Here's another cool thing. I'm going to use my handy dandy. Oh, I don't have it turned on. Let me turn it on. I think I can get this into the equation. And it's, oh, it's not plugged in. Let's see, plug you in. Is it still on? Yep, there it is. I need to flip it 180 really quick. So let me go over here and say, transform. Hi, garbage is being picked up. Yay. So go 180. There. So now you can see what I'm playing. So I'm going to play with knobs with my, this is the Machine, Native Instruments Machine Jam. I like this, and I've seen a number of you guys are picking these up. It's just a handy, there's visual feedback for where the parameters are at, right? And it's really easy to sign and to program, and it does so much more with the buttons up above and stuff. But I'm going to play a groove, and I got velocity down. And I got decay down. So I'm playing all 4 kits, and those 10 patterns in a stack are the same for all 4 kits, but each one has a different pattern because each drum kit needed different notes. That's why there's 40 MIDI files. So I can use the kit select and the pattern select, and if you want to do glitchy stuff, speed stuff, so you can do crazy interactions, and this is before getting jitter box and random timing things into it. It's so fun where you can go with rhythm now. It's got so many crazy places. It almost hurts the brain with 3 MIDI effects that just are full of lots of possibilities, and they interact with each other in cool ways. MIDI box and jitter box, it's a good relationship. So I could take this groove. Let's just use this one. I'm going to go to MIDI box. I'm going to change the root. And by changing the root, that says where is the main groove's center of that pitch for the coarse tuning. I'm going to change it down in pitch, which makes the pitch of the drums go higher. Right? So that way I can hear that differently from the rest of the groove. Let's go to jitter box. Let's give it some fun random timing. Let's give ourselves a full quarter note. And I'm going to go from 0 to 100% with simple note times. Boom, go. And let's put a little reverb on this so we can hear it. Let's call up our new reverb. Let's call it the Dragonfly Room. So I have random timing playing. If we could bring the timing in closer, it'd probably get more 8th note. And let's randomize the pitch. And let's say, just be in the range for the samples. Now you have random notes. So there's this possibility. There's one more I did with drums that's really fun down here called Rhythm Freak, where instead of changing the patterns, I have it playing with random timing. And this is using recycle file maps. I can go here, random timing. Now it's 4 different people after a couple beers jamming. 5 beers. 6 beers. You've each had a whole case. So there's all sorts of fun places to go with rhythm. It's a beautiful day, right? And it's still my number one go-to machine. Yeah, I mean, all due respect, Omnisphere is still an incredible instrument. All the synthesizers are incredible instruments. I'm not going to make something for our first instrument that would be in that league, so I wanted to make something that would complement everybody and be something fun to play with, a place to put things. It's very easy to say init, go over here and call up Omnisphere. Well, start with a patch. Let's say we want to choose, if you go to tags, there's some really cool things in 1.1, so you can go down here and look for something, one of the BPM. Mainly it's drum stuff, since we're so heavy on the drum side of things. But there is a couple things. There is a BPM key with the broken, yeah. That's what I did. Well, Arrival got, that's not musical. Well, there's so many patches already, so we could go to 1.12. Oh, you know what? I'm on drum. That's what it is. There's more than that. I was like, that doesn't seem right. There's pads and all sorts of stuff in here. So we could say, here's another one using the LFOs. It'd be easy to go add an extra instrument that's Omnisphere. We're gonna have Spectrasonics. We hear it before we see the interface. Oh, we hear the sine wave while it's loading up Omnisphere. Go over here, find patches, user directories. These are all libraries I have made for Omnisphere, so I'm a huge fan of Omnisphere, of course. Go to pads. You know, now if I say this as a patch, that's when you can get the seamless loading. It's when you're loading a Unify patch, not when you're loading patches inside of the interface. When you're playing in here and calling it patches, waveform multimedia. Let me see here. Can you show how to get MIDI? What is waveform? Oh, waveform. Can you show how to get MIDI plugins to show up in the correct folder and not in instruments? Oh, MIDI subsets. Okay, how to get MIDI? Yeah. So that's a good question. We're gonna do a tech question really quick. That's why we're here. So in your plugin list are all the plugins, and MIDI effects are not mentioned and are not separated. They're just a big list. So you go over here to subsets. Let me make sure that you can see. I want to make sure I'm not off the screen, which I am a little bit. And there, like this. So subsets allow you to click right here, go to MIDI effects, and then you can type in the name of the MIDI effects you want to have added to your this. I have all MIDI effects, which list the MIDI effects that I have currently on this computer. You can say, I want to do, let's see, if we go back to, I think, refresh. Here you can say add a folder, or actually, no, we want to delete that. I'm doing the wrong thing. So delete that folder, add a subset, click this, rename it MIDI effects, or whatever you want to call it, right? So you would select this, and over here on the right, it will say MIDI effects. And now you could say numerology, M-E-R. There it is. We have it so you can scan it down pretty fast. Obelisk, O-B-L-O-B-E, obelisk, add selected. When you have all the MIDI effects that you want to have that you own, then you hit save. And now when you close and go to MIDI effects, say empty MIDI layer, when you click right here, MIDI effects is what I just made, and here they are, so I can load them up. Once you load one up, they won't actually work until you go right here on the layer and connect it to that layer. We have you do this per layer, because the cool thing with this system is you could have 6 layers. 3 of them could be talking to a MIDI effect. 3 of them could just be normal for just playing on the top. of a MIDI effect that's happening on other layers. So that is how you make your own subsets. By the way, I want to point out on instruments, I included, I believe, a favorites. I think I included that, as well as the Roland Korg Arturia. You can make your own. These are just to start up to give you ideas. When you click right here on the little bullet, right here in the middle is where custom subsets show up. And you could say, you know, add subset and select it and say, this is Shane's fave plugins, right? So, Larry Thomas, another question. Okay, Larry Thomas. Can I hear Richard Souther's patches in Cloud City? Yes, give me a minute. So you go to Shane's favorite plugins. You can type in, if you want to see all of this list, like if you want to see all of your synthesizers that you have, see at the end where it says VST/instrument. If it's an effect, it says VST/effect. They need to have another one that says VST/MIDI, but they don't. So be aware. Oh, this stuff is so cool. My left brain and right brain argue about what's check out. That's funny. So if you say VST/instrument, here's all of your instruments, but be aware MIDI effects are in here too. So when you select all, you're going to want to go through here, hold down the command key. And when you get to some things like numerology and other things that are MIDI effects and so forth, like numerology, just deselect it so it's not included. And then when you have your list that you want, you just say add selected to the list and hit save. And now when I go over here to the list for plugins, here's Shane's favorite plugins. And you can have it just be a list. Like my favorites is just like, 15 plugins. So I don't have to go, we all have so many plugins. So the idea is to make it easier to find the plugins you call up all the time. So you can make your own for certain film sets, for pop music, for productions, for audio effects. It's super useful because you can go to effect type. You can do nested folders. So effect type, I've got compressors, all of my delays, and I guarantee you, if you add all your delays to the folder, you will look down the list and go, oh, I forgot about this delay. That's an incredible delay. I love that delay. I haven't used that in a long time because we're so used to just using the same effects. Right? So this gives you the ability to put all your reverbs together, all that kind of stuff that just, we want to make it a Swiss Army knife that helps you out and then gives you creative little things like the MIDI effects and jitterbox and things that you can do, plus all the stuff you can do with your plugins. So it's all sorts of fun stuff. I'm going to take a shot over to Cloud City for a second. Now, Richard's patches are not final. We are going to be collaborating on them. But he's doing some stuff that is pretty cool with the different 6/8, different timing fields. Cloud City has percussion, tons of percussion, and hip-hop kits. Aren't those cool? These have not been fully programmed out. That's what I'm doing in the coming week. This is why now I'm playing these all at the same tempo because I'm in a DAW, right? So if I wanted to, I could go over here. Like something like this would be cool to have like that. And then go to the BPM basses and stuff. I have some cool things like Countdown to Destruction that you can add. Now this is one where I'd want to like start with Countdown to Destruction, and go to Richard Sellers and do that thing where it doesn't transpose by holding down Control, Shift, and click. And it adds all those things. You go over here and say I wanted to add something from Mel. These are really cool drum grooves that have a really cool feel. And I can go over here and mute this melody parts. So I realized that I was going to need to have some time just to focus all my energy on the release of Unify 1.1. And there's no way I could do that and have Cloud City ready to go. I'm planning to release Cloud City next Friday. I'm giving myself 1 week. And so that will be a wonderful day when that comes, because there's so much cool stuff inside of this that I can't wait to show you everything we can do. There's all sorts of things with these groove files and all this stuff that we've been talking about that's inside the factory library, taken to much even higher degrees. If we go to the BPM split stuff, one cool thing with MIDI files I can show you is the one-shot mode. This is super cool. This is where it's playing really fast arpeggiators just once. Here's Tinkerbell, so here's your magic drink. And a lemon, you know. But if you take this, and let's call Twilight, I have a patch called Twilight Hop, which I copied over Taylor's patches and they took away these fixes. So we need to go over here, Twilight Hop. Here's the error message you get when the sound's missing. So we got to go over here to Chaos's Grooves. Where is Drum Kit? Oh, these are his. I have another. It's not there. Here they are right here. Twilight Hop. And this is also missing Twilight Hop. So we say, okay, thank you. And let's go out to Twilight Hop. So that's using a one shot, a big sub bass, and a hip hop kit. These are different drum kits than the ones that come with Unify 1.1. We have three hip hop kits. There's a down tempo kit, and then 2 hip hop kits that are coming inside, included with this. There's actually even more than that, because there's the down tempo thriller. Turn on MIDI files. And if you go over here, these are all the patterns for the down tempo thriller kit. So those all are included with Unify. That's just for one of the 3 kits. Right? I also did other stuff for this library that's really fun. One thing that's really cool is there's all these granular pads. The library comes with these vocal chops, because there's one of my customers that works writing opera and all sorts of cool things. And he'd, let's see, if I go like this and call up like this, and then I need to go to here and say play all samples, and there. Oh, let's see here. Female chops, they're here. Oh, sample start. What? Oh. Hey, why aren't you playing? Uh-huh. Okay. Well, here's all samples. Oh, the transpose, that's what it is. It's messed up. So there's all of these chops. And I took all of these and I turned them into cool leads. I also fed them through granular synth engines, and I came up with some really cool, like, operatic. Which when you add with other pads and so forth, you can get some really cool. Right? So there's all sorts of things in that area. The whole polyphonic MIDI thing was taken to rather extreme degrees. We've got polyphonic MIDI for slow parts. I'm playing a MIDI file. Can Ableton's Max for Lives LFOs modify Unify controls? Absolutely. These 8 real-time control knobs, they show up as real-time parameters, and then these can be connected to whatever synths and parameters you want and whatever plugins are loaded into Unify. So yeah, you can do all that kind of stuff for sure. If not, let us know, because that's kind of stuff we're really interested in. Here's other examples of polyphonic MIDI. Which is really fun. I wrote some songs. So there's like 5 songs included with this library. Where did I put them? Are they in BPS? Yeah, song, MIDI ideas. These are calling up 4 layers that are doing things with OBXD and Guru Sampler, and then multiple tracks of drums. So when you play a note, then change your tempo. Using just to show you what you can do with MIDI files, right? You can do whole songs. Playing live. Some of these ideas are pretty cool. And then all these MIDI files are parts that you can play with because they're included with the library. So on top of this, there's these World United grooves. These are all going to be condensed into one, like Drum Frenzy, but this is them still separated out as 11 different grooves. There's a bendir, buffalo drum, big sun drum from Sunny, one of the people in the chat group, and then a Taos Pueblo drum. And then there's shakers. Like I said, there's tons of shakers in Cloud City, right? 2 different eggshell shakers. Here's ankle bells. Hollow seed shaker. And you want to know a funny story? If you go down the list down here, I have each one of these as a separate instrument, right? And I have pictures of everything. I have lost this shaker. I can't find this shaker anywhere at my house. Somewhere is a hollow seed shaker. I can't take a picture of it for the library. It's crazy. So there's rattle, Latin percussion shaker. Right? So I have knobs here so you can turn down just the drums, just the shakers, or if you want just the metal percussion. Right? So you have independent controls. then if I wanted to, I could take this whole thing, go over here to these dance grooves, hold down the Control and Shift that I shown you guys, right? New groove, crazy world stuff. And then up high, let's go over here, say, no, you need to stop at C3. Thank you very much. And up here is Sonny playing his flute. And if I want, I can spin right here to flute types, and now it's Sonny playing flute phrases. So, Groove is such a fun place to be able to play with all this stuff. So, we're really excited about everything that's happening there. So, that's good stuff. There's individuals of all sorts of claps and stuff, so you can start and easily build up grooves in all sorts of cool ways. Hold down Control Shift and play a couple different, just choose a couple things, and all of a sudden you got so it's just jamming away with this stuff is a lot of fun. So, what else would you guys like to see? Any questions? Yeah, Sonny rocked it. He's an incredible flute player. I'm actually gonna be coming down to see Sonny and record at a studio him playing his flutes for another library that we'll do later this year of just flutes. So, yeah. Create music. Keeps you young, absolutely. Also, the fun thing is you can go to any library and all this stuff works that same way. So I could go over here, say I want to have a BPM crazy thing from Airwave added. Two, three. Didn't even hear me load it. Hold down Option and turn things down if you see things in the red. Right? So groove stops. Let's load up another one. Yeah, so there's all sorts of places to go. It's good times. Are there any questions? Hey, David, welcome. Yeah, well, we've got a ways to go till I would say we're ultimate groover, but we've definitely steps in the right direction. There's a lot we want to do to get variety, variations, fills, all sorts of stuff. But the functionality have a live set list function. I hope the Pro version will have some kind of live set list function. I'll have to see what Analog Labs live set. You can create a library. For example, I currently have in the user library, yeah, the Pigments library doesn't work without clicking, unfortunately. There's something additional, and if I'll even show you what it sounds like, because say this is grooving along, right? And you hold down Shift to click. It's very small. You might not even have heard it. Come on, Pigments, keep up. Huh. But yes, you can create your own patch. Because Will, I mean, we can do stuff like that kind of now. You just, as I don't know what the benefit of a playlist would be over this. You showed something about setting a note or something in the BPM section of Unify. You showed about setting a note or something in the BPM section. Oh, well, we do have these different timing modes, and we have key range for the transport now. And these come in really handy more when it's in standalone mode and it's in control of itself. When it's in the control of a DAW like this, it's a little bit different. If I went down here to where I'm not playing anything, and I can call up the Unify standalone. My audio's back. And I have Unify standalone. Now, what's nice in standalone mode is that tempo is controlled by Unify. It's not controlled by Logic or whatever my DAW is. So I can call up things and they will have the tempo that is designated for that patch. And when you're working with there's different applications and ways that you can see to use all the timing things inside of Unify. So we have a couple different modes here to work with. Is this what you're talking about, Will? Just want to make sure I'm covering. Any chance of a full-blown browser screen being implemented in the GUI? If you want to write it. Anything you guys ask for, remember we have to write it in code. There's just, and it's actually Shane we have to ask to write it. So it's a mountain of work, so it might take a while. Yeah, so okay, I'm going to just make sure this is what we're talking about for Will. There's parameters here in the transport now that allow for a little bit more flexibility. Once you start adding a pad or something like that, and say we have this growing, right? So it's loaded up. If I was to add a pump house to this, let's go Dynamics, add pump house. And let's have a loading of a preset. We'll choose just one of the side chains so that it's, right? So it has its absolute one that it's working with, right? If I go starting to add the drums and all the new things we can do inside of Unify, there's times where it takes a little work to get where you have everybody. Let's see here. Let's go clap, BPM. Here we go. Now I want this to keep in sync. Now it started in sync, right? But if I wanted, I could right click and say just low C, and I could just limit all these drums. Let's see if I start right here. Drums, drums, drums. I believe that's all I did. New jazz, open octaves. Yeah, so close this and set these all to latch, right? So that MIDI in mono latch. This way, I could be playing in the other area. And if I set this to MIDI restart, see how it doesn't know where the one is? So pump house is no longer connected. So you want to do things and figure out how you're going to use this so that it can be, they're working now in sync. One. But now I changed it. I played when I wanted the 1, right? I'm going to play on 3 and it's going to turn to the 1 and watch pump house. Watch this little guy right here. He's working away. When he's playing, now 1, 2. When I hit start, that told pump house, because he's an audio effect. He's not listening to MIDI clock the way other things are. So we have these different modes depending on how you're going to work with all of the abilities of MIDI box and so forth. There's different parameters here to work with to get everything to work right. So when you play a note, it restarts to 1. Or we can say no, it doesn't restart to 1. Now whatever I do, it still keeps the clock moving. So it's like, no, get back into shape. So whenever I play the groove, it immediately jumps back to the right clock position. It doesn't jump to the clock position when I played a note. So we have different modes. These are modes typically you don't see in most DAWs because they don't work this way. We're kind of this hybrid DAW and a live real-time thing. So we're experimenting. We are not masters of this stuff. A lot of what we're doing, we're just learning as we go, right? Yes. So there's these different modes. If you hit manual stop, if you say that, that means the clock is running. Whenever I play, it keeps running. 1, 2. And it doesn't care when I hit play. If I hit play and it's not 1, it just goes, oh no, you're supposed to be here, right? And it doesn't stop until I hit stop. And then it doesn't start until I play a note. Whereas if I set it to this mode, each time I play new notes, 1. I interrupted it and said no. That's the 1. And everybody jumps in and goes, oh, okay. We'll play along with that. So that's why we have these different modes to work with. Manual start and stop is if you're going to have like MIDI files for a full song. We do have inside of MIDI box, you do have the ability to set it to 3 different modes. There's one shot, there's loop key where it triggers when you play a key, or loop. So if I was to say, let's init, and if I go to the replacing from layers, I've saved out as separate layers. Notice this plugin guru, since it's a separate library, we now have it set up so that a separate library is separated from the factory content. So each library that shows up will be its own thing of layer presets. So I can go down here to the melodic MIDI. Let's say 3 bass, and let's replace this to be the 3 chords. Say go MIDI bass, melodic, 3 chords, scores, nice. And let's get the couple of the melody parts just to flush it out. So we say melodic MIDI 3 sequence 1, melodic MIDI layer presets here, melodic MIDI sequence 2. So when I play a note, it starts when I play a key. If I went to each one of these guys and I set them instead to loop, what happens is it doesn't play from key anymore. It requires me to hit play in Unify. So this would be for if you're going to do a live show, it's all set. You set this to manual start and stop, and when I hit start, oh. But I can still play the keys. That's cool. I didn't realize that. So you can interact with it. So while it's playing, if I want to go over here and say add a clap. Oh, it didn't start up. Interesting. Oh, because they're not set to MIDI box loop. So if I say loop, does it jump in? Yeah. That won't work because it doesn't follow the new roads. So you can have a 300 measure song that's playing multiple tracks, and then you're playing along to it. And if you don't want to interact with the keys on the keyboard, you just go here and you just set it to off so that you're listening in a different mode. Or actually, I think it's MIDI in right here, none. That way it's playing based on the MIDI box. It's not looking at the notes that you play. So we have a none mode here. So I could say this. And now when I hit play, it will play. And I'm no longer able to interact with the keyboard and modify it. So you can do all that kind of stuff. It's pretty flexible for that kind of stuff. Yes, the manual is one of those things that yeah, we just got this done. So now we need to document everything. It never stops. Sounds like lift music. If I download Unify 1.9 will overwrite easily and safely. Yes, all you have to do to update is download the updater and the Unify factory content. Let me find them here on the desktop. Let's see here. I think I have, or do I not? Yeah, my Mac installers look differently than yours because of the beta. The way that we work is I don't get sent installers that often, you know. But here I can find it here. Say right here. So you will have now we have a whole bunch of you that have bought Unify from us, and there's those of you who've bought Unify from other website stores on the internet, which is perfectly fine, but you get your files a different way. You need to, there's an actual link that you can click. Let me see, I can actually get you the exact, I'll put this into the chat as well. Uh-oh, come back here. My mouse is freezing for the second. So, oh yeah, it's there. So, right here, if you bought Unify from somewhere other than Plugin Guru, number one, Mike Babbitt is going to be getting a link to you guys. But here is the chat, or here's the information for ilio.com/Unify updates. And that's a website page you can go to. You type in your email and you will receive links to download. Let's see here. Oh. Let's see here. I have a lot going on my computer all at once. It's downloading the big gigabyte files. So the steps for updating, I'll take you through the steps. So you will unzip. I zipped the installer for the factory library even. So Unify factory, here's Mac. So you'll double click to unzip this. And we should get a file that will show up here. Same for the PC. It's now a single file. And then you just double click to run Unify Standard 1.1.3. That is the latest and greatest. And go through the steps and put in your password. We will overwrite the files that need to be overwritten. We did have to say goodbye to one plugin for the time being. Your disk is almost full, I know. Because I'm making a video at the same time, so it's recording it to my hard drive. So let's see, where am I at? Oh yeah. Yeah, so when you get to Unify, we had to say goodbye to PG8X at this time, just to make it so we could have a single installer. PG8X is not compatible with Catalina. And so it is unfortunately something that when you go to this list and you look here, you will not see the PG8X. Now, if PG8X is in your folder, it will still show up when you go to all instruments. And I can't remember. Let's see, do I have it in my list? I might have cleaned it out when we were doing this finalizing. PG8X. MLVST is the company. So that means in the list, if you go down to MLVST, there's PG8X. It will still show up for you to load, but it's not part of, we're not deleting it, but we're not installing it for new customers. We went through the patches that use PG8X. There's like 8 or 10 of them, and just substituted it out with OBXD or JX10 or something like that. And so that is a little bit different in that we wanted to have, it got a little confusing having 2 installers, and we would have had to ship the Mac version with the 1.0.6 installer, and then you install 1.1, and that would be very confusing to a lot of you. You don't have to do that if you're updating. You just run the updater. But for new installers, you have to run 1.0.6 first, just because that was before this version, that was the last version we were able to notarize with Apple. So it's all, yeah, Apple stuff. Yep. All right. Is this compatible with High Sierra? Yes, it will go. I've installed this on OS 10.9 on my computer. Yeah, I'm going to start getting these error messages. I was hoping to make it 13 more minutes to 4 o'clock. So we'll see if we can do it. Let me do this. See if there's anything else on the hard drive. I could do this. Probably make it upset, but see if we'll do it. Oh, we have other stuff to delete. That'll give us some space back. Okay, good. Okay, we're in good shape now. Any other questions? Let's see, what else can I show you guys? There's so many other places to go. Let's see. So tags 1.1. I showed you the kits. I showed you how you can call up all the different snares, percussion. I showed you a little bit about LFOs. Let's do, see what else is there in our list here to look at. The perk template. So here are a couple of the templates that might be handed to you guys. Let's go like this and then turn this off so we can see all of the templates. Templates has grown quite a bit. With 1.1, there's templates for how to get polyphonic MIDI from a MIDI file and how to use MIDI box as a MIDI CC. Oh, this should be paused. So if we go to MIDI box for MIDI CC, this is where, oh, do I have, oh, I have Unify playing inside of Logic. Let's do this so we have a track that's not playing. Thank you, Logic. We don't need you right now. I like standalone mode myself a lot because it's just Unify. And oh, let me get this over here out of the way. There. Okay. Oh, you know, I think I am looking at the wrong Unify. There. Oh my gosh. Long day. Okay, so if we go to the templates on this version of Unify, sorry guys, ST, here, MIDI box, MIDI CC to the filter. So what this is doing is I have Guru Sampler set up with the filter nicely dimmed and then the mod wheel set to the filter cutoff. And as a result, so all you have to do is open MIDI box, and there's a whole bunch of different presets inside of this folder to play with. So before you even need to make any, now if you want to make your own, let me show you really quickly how to do that. It's kind of fun. So we go over here to Logic, and it's probably best to call up that same patch. So let's do this. Let me mute this so that it's not making any sound in the standalone. We'll put it back in the standalone in a minute. And let's go to this version of Unify, init template. So we can find it quickly. MIDI CC, and then bypass the MIDI box. So that is it's just playing MIDI box right here, right? If I turn this on, bypass. So what you do, probably the easiest way would be to start with your just modulation wheel or your oh wait, I have a MIDI file, something in here playing from earlier, right? So let's say we don't want that because we're not going to put notes in. This is a special kind of a MIDI control. So we go, we probably have to have a note. So let's have this play so we can hear it. And then over here, we're going to record CC data. So we go. So, of course, this is two different tracks. So let's go like that and move this up to here. And okay, so turn on automation, set it to region, and then go down the list and you'll see modulation. And now you can automate, just edit this so that it does what you want it to do. This might not be the most pretty example, but I'm going to just quickly say down here to 2. And then have my computer's stuttering just a little bit, and I'm not sure exactly why. Let's have it do. I just want to get MIDI CC in so I had something to see with. Okay, so I have this data, right? And let's say that this is my work of art that I've spent hours and hours on, which I haven't, of course. LFO pulse. And select all. Copy the name, return, command, option E, paste, save to the desktop, and it shows up right here as a MIDI file of just CC data, right? So now we can go down here to where we are playing and not making any sound, right? Let's call back up this Unify and come over here, bring up the volume so we can hear it. And then go to MIDI box and just navigate to the desktop to LFO Pulse and right? So then on top of this, where you can get really fun is that we have all sorts of speed controls here. We could have it play 4:1 in speed. That might be actually usable. Go over here to the BPM stuff just to see how fun it is to work. Let's see, if I'm at 120 beats per minute, I can actually load an airwave loop. Hold down Shift. Yeah, that's cool. Let's add a snare. 4 on the floor, a little rhythm freak stuff going on, redhead, and a clap. 1, 2. So that MIDI file LFO works. So you can do that in any sequencer. Just move the mod wheel, use the editing tools to fine tune it however you want. The resolution is really good. It's not sample accurate to the same degree because it's not updating as fast. Another cool example of this I want to show you before we go. Lead. There's one here. called Pitch EG by MIDI Brasser, by MIDI Box. And that's just pitch bend, doing a really fast pitch bend. One from the top down and one from the bottom up. Here's without it. And if I wanted to make it even more pronounced, you would go to your sampler and just make the range wider for how far pitch bend's range is, because you can do up to 3 octave range for pitch bend, right? So now it's much wider. And a cool trick, I didn't set this up, but if you set this to 1 shot, I had forgotten that we have a special thing with 1 shot where it will re-trigger notes even if you're holding down other notes. So now, so even though we don't have pitch EGs and we don't have LFOs, we can do pitch EG and we can do LFOs. It's not on a per voice basis, but it could be because of Polybox. Polybox can take anything that's monophonic and including monophonic retriggering of pitch EGs and make it polyphonic because it sends each note that you play to a different MIDI channel, even when you play a chord. So yeah, it's pretty fun. Pretty crazy stuff we can do. So you can get... guess you'll just need to accelerate marketing along with and get rich going public after the growth happens. Yeah, we'll see. That'd be nice. That'd be a nice problem to have. Thank you, guys. Hey, any questions? If not, I'll be seeing you guys. We do a Saturday live stream every Saturday, so we'll definitely do that. I just wanted to pop in on the day that we've released this and be here for support. Shane's been busy typing. Thank you, Shane. Everybody's mad shout out to Shane. This is his baby. Have you tried? Yeah. I have. Mad shout outs to Shane first. Mad shout out. Yes, there's a library I'm working on for the BBC Discover Station Discover. Well, it's BBC Orchestra Discover. This will be a library comes out probably in July, I think. If you're not familiar, this is a really great library to get. I'm going to do a separate short video on this, but this is a library that for $49 basically gives you a whole orchestra with all of the instruments to work with. And they're separated by sections. So if you go to the basses, they stop right here. They don't play above F sharp. Another string instrument, the violas or the cellos, take over, and then the violas, and then the cello violins. This plugin will only let you play one at a time. So if you wanted to do this, you needed 5 tracks in your sequencer to do it. But Unify, of course, I can go over here. I can say the Discover string orchestra. I've got all the different ones here, as you can see. That's string long and staccato. Here we go, the strings. So this loads up all 5. It's one of the nicest sounding orchestras for $50 you're going to find. It also has the woodwind ensembles. So you could say, here's the brass ensemble. I'm loading 5 of this plugin and look at the CPU. And the woodwinds are right here. These are included in a free bonus download. In fact, here, I'll give you guys the link. If you don't have this, this is something that is totally free for the first 5 patches. I'm making a 128 patch library or so for this. That will be not free. but it will be very reasonably priced. But these patches right here, BBC Discover Station, copy this link, and you won't get this error message anymore if you were. What I mean, have you tried a tried to load in a classical composition? I haven't loaded a classical composition. I was getting there. You just got to let me do my thing, Will. I do have this, which is a little sequence passage that I composed. Which is using the strings, harp, percussion, and then a So I haven't had it play a MIDI file or something like that, but there's going to be a ton of different, string rhythm patterns and stuff like that that you'd be able to play and interact with this orchestra. So yes, I don't want to just play some generic MIDI file of Bach that sounds like it was played on a player piano, So yes, I have, but I was getting there. Herbie! So good to see you, man. So this will be a whole library. I've got things where that's combined with piano, things that are rather cool as far as and check this out. This is loading up the 5 string patches. It's loading up the 5 brass patches. It's loading up the 5 ensembles. So it's loading up 15 of the BBC string orchestra, all 200 megabytes of whatever of all the strings, brass, woodwinds, plus the Steinway that comes with Unify. Yeah, I'm starstruck too, Herbie, man. So there will be all sorts of things. I've started to explore synth with the orchestra, which will be another place that will go pretty heavy and have all that kind of stuff. I want to show you a couple other things in Cloud City, then we'll say sayonara for this event. I love these things. These are so fun. This is where do I have these at? These are on C6. The particle SkyPad is fun. This is one where I've got all of these tongue drum performances that I've chopped up with. Check these out. These are all. Right? And I found a way to make them polyphonic. And so that's actually found inside of this one. Using Blue ARP to trigger it. So if I copy this setting, go go to operations, copy plugin. I could go to any of these patterns and then add a blue ARP, go blue ARP, but move it before MIDI box and then go to the bullet. This is one of the new 1.1 things is you can copy plugin settings and then paste them. Now it's transposing them to my notes. Isn't that a cool sound? Then go to pads, hold down shift when you find the pad you want. So new, taking recycle files of tongue drum performances and finding ways to play them on the keyboard is fun. Yes, Sospiro strings. I've just discovered Sospiro and that Ben, wonderful guy. I've been watching Ozark, and I hear a lot of those types of sounds. It's really cool. So much fun can be done, so much experimenting. It's just a play, you know, the whole idea is a sound box for all your plugins. You can now go, if I was to go over to the full library, to the user library, I could have a plaid playing and hold down shift, add the Arturia. Right? Then I can say RX2, go to the full all everything. Let's say Merc. And let's get Ventura Boulevard. So wherever you want to go. Now Ventura Boulevard is one of the grooves that's inside of Cloud City. There's a handful of grooves that are inside of the standard library, and then there's a handful of recycled grooves that are inside of Cloud City. And I'm actually going to add some more this week to it. So. Jazz, you don't need to test him. All right. Well, thank you for joining. It's so good to see you guys. I hope this inspires you guys. That's what this is all about is, you know, I've made 80 libraries for synthesizers and I love doing that, but I have thoughts in my mind that I wanted to turn into reality, and Shane just, you know, the timing, God put everything together and Shane shows up and we get to start working on this. We actually started an iPad app first. So we have all sorts of big plans in the future for things we might be doing. So thank you for joining. Enjoy the update. If you don't have Unify, I hope this inspires you to get it. I'm going to be bringing out some shorter videos focused on, I want to do this, because I know these videos are very long and very sprawling and I go all over the place, and I need to do some shorter, just selling types of things. Thank you, Shane. Look where we are, man. Anyway. Bless you all. Be safe. Stay healthy. Stand strong. We will see you Saturday if you want. Every Saturday I'm live streaming away from my little room here. So Pleasure to see you all. Okay, be well. Oh, we should shout out. Gotta do our shout outs from where we are. Shout out. Been a heck of a day. Thank you, Tim. Shout out from PDX. Stop testing, Jazz. Come on. Anyway, blessings. All right. Yay, Big E. Dude, we got to go get ourselves some Chipotle one of these days. Golden, Colorado, Copenhagen, Amsterdam, Stockholm. I want to go to all of these countries. Good to see you, Herbie. He was Googling. Remember, no one on the internet knows if you're Herbie Hancock or Herbie Hancock's dog. Yeah. Shout out from Wales, UK. Tim, thank you again for your help. Thank you for the other beta testers that helped out with getting us to this step. I did a whole live stream and didn't crash. And I'll tell you, Monday, before we were releasing, I was going to release on Monday, and I'd come up with something where you get to like 5 or 6 into the layers, something would jiggle and it would crash. And I'm like, no. I can't let it out to all of you where it might do something like that on a regular basis. So I'm sorry we had to be delayed a little bit, but here we are. I did 2 hours of whatever we just did. That's really fun. And no crash. All right. Be well. We'll see you soon, okay? Bye.